Aloha, everybody. My name is Avalon Paradea. I am the graduate student intern with the South Kohala Coastal Partnership through my program with the Tropical Conservation Biology and Environmental Sciences program at Hilo. And so for today's speaker series, I'm introducing Kealiʻi. I'm so sorry, Kealiʻi, how do you pronounce your last name? I should have asked you this.
Pronounce it Thoene.
Thoene, okay. So Kealiʻi Thoene, and the title of his talk is Community Program, or I'm sorry, who is Terraformation and what are they up to? Kealiʻi is the community program manager at Terraformation. He is a naturalist, a writer, and a surfer, a Native Hawaiian, and an advocate for a future where every person who steps foot on these islands recognizes that the life of the people and the life of the Aina are one and the same. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Kealiʻi.
All right, mahalo Avalon, and aloha mai kako, everybody who's listening in now and who might be watching later. I'm stalling for time as I figure out how to share screen. And there it is. Let me know if anything goes wrong. Just stop me at any time and I can make sure to correct that. And as I give you the presentation, first of all, I just want to thank you for your time, taking time out of your day to listen to me and learn a little bit about myself and Terraformation. As we kick things off, I want you to drop in the chat, just tell me your name, where you're calling in from, and tell me, let's see, one part of the South Kohala coast that you feel a strong pilina to, a strong connection to. I'd love to hear a little bit about that, hear a little bit about you. And before we get into Terraformation, I'll tell you a little bit about me. Who am I? My name is Peter Alex Kealiʻi Thoene. I was born here on the island of Hawaii, down there in Kealiʻi, Kona Hospital. And growing up, I bopped around a little bit between upcountry Maui and Kapalama on Oahu, and also along the South Kohala coast. In fact, my dad always worked in hotels, so we moved around a lot, all up and down the Kohala coast. There's me in 1987 on the far right, and my brother on the left, Binky Bear in the middle. I think he's still with us, actually. And then I've done a lot of stuff in my life growing up here in the islands, worked in tourism a bunch. You see me on the top with Hawaii Forest and Trail, ocean sports. I've made wine in Napa, taught English in Japan, there in the bottom middle with my engaging lessons and my engaged students. I'm a big hiker, I hiked a lot, visited Pele a lot recently. And then the most recently, bottom right-hand corner, I was unemployed during COVID. So it was clearly a struggle for me, as you can see. During my unemployment, I did a lot of things, including looking for jobs all the time, and found out that Terraformation was hiring a community program manager. I was living on Oahu at the time, and the position was here on the island of Hawaii. And I did a little research. Who is Terraformation? And in a nutshell, Terraformation is a forest accelerator. We have a lot of people around the globe, big global company, about 50 or so team members around the globe, and just about the same here on the island of Hawaii. The mission of Terraformation is to reverse climate change by scaling native forest restoration, pretty simply. I was really happy when I heard that because I love native forests. So I applied for the job as a community engagement, community program manager, and got that job in November of last year. The first thing that I asked in November when well, throughout the interview process, and then as I started, was what is this company all about? And I think a lot of folks who are logging on now are asking the same things. In a basic sense, Terraformation is about climate change. You can see on the graph there where we are now with the rise of the global temperatures. And if we continue our growth, what's going to happen with global temperatures going up? You know, everyone watches the news and engages with that and can see kind of the effects of our warming Earth, and that continued growth path is kind of a frightening thing. So the decisions we make now and in the next decade are gonna be critical, but I'm preaching to the choir there. An exciting thing about taking action in the next decade is that, you know, a lot of big companies that are controlling a lot of our narratives have made pledges to go to net zero. with their carbon emissions. And in fact, the pledge has tripled just in the last, from 2019 to 2020. Sorry, I got to change that. Which is exciting for us and exciting for forests. Terraformation wants to accelerate forestry and forests. And that's our mission. That's our hypothesis, is that if we increase that, we can do something about climate change. Of course, trees are the most immediate, scalable, and politically feasible ways to address carbon capture. Forests are the best things to do it. Best way to do it is our hypothesis. And before I continue on there, I want to pause and see if there's any chat questions, or you can just unmute yourself and chime in now. Okay, no questions. We can move on. I just want to be clear to everyone that native forests are Terraformation's mission, especially when it comes to, speaking of carbon credits and companies going net zero. Oftentimes you see these plantation forest models, but it's not the best solution. It's not the best for us moving forward. Native forests are better for capturing carbon than plantation forests. They support more biodiversity, more life, and more resilient to extreme weather as well. So Terraformation is not going to be the company to reverse climate change through forest restoration. What we want to do is solve the bottlenecks and help people who are already planting forests do it bigger, better, faster. So when we started, it was started January 1st, 2020. Essentially our CEO, Yishan Wang, he came to the island to retire. His plan was to buy a piece of property on the Kohala coast and build a few houses and spend the rest of his life on the island. Not the first person to want to do this, and probably not the last. But as he was building, he was living up in Waimea, and he had his kind of climate emergency spark moments. He said, whoa, it's really hot, 80 degrees at night in Waimea. Is this normal? And everyone was telling him, no, that's not normal. So instead of building a house on the Kohala coast, he's an engineer, and he crunched the numbers and said, okay, I don't want to build a little house and just retire here. I want to address climate change. And so if, on average, the planet puts out 45 gigatons of CO2 every year, and an acre of forest can take out about 14 or 15 tons of CO2, then we just need to empower the planting of 3 billion acres of native forests around the globe and in the next decade, and we can tackle the carbon problem. So of course, Terraformation, at 3 billion acres, that's the size of the continental US plus Mexico. So our team cannot plant 3 billion acres, but we can try our best to solve the bottlenecks that are holding people back from doing that. I'm gonna check the chat to see if there's any questions around that. Nope. So some of those bottlenecks that we have identified are here: water, seeds, funds, and expertise. A solution for water that we came up with at our primary site here on island was solar-powered desalination. Not new technology, but for a while, we thought that maybe we had the biggest one in the world, because we looked around, we're asking people questions about how to set it up, and no one really said, oh yeah, we have something like this. We have a half an acre of solar down there. The off-wall is called Kohala. It's just north of Kealiʻi. And the half acre of solar pumps water from our brackish water well and blasts that through a reverse osmosis process and creates fresh water to water our native dry forest plants on the 50-acre property. If you want to come check that out, I'll give you my contact info at the end of the presentation, and I would love to host you. The reason that we were able to do this was just because of the energy costs in recent years. It was actually more cost effective to build a solar power plant than gas or coal. So that was a huge positive for us. And now that we've been planting there for about 1.5 years, 7,200 plants or so, we hope that folks around the world can look to that example and be able to use the same methods if they need. Another bottleneck that we saw was access to native seeds. A lot of forest operations around the globe right now, if they want to plant, they hike into the forest, grab their seeds, put it in their nursery, sprout some plants, wait for them to grow, and then outplant them. So if anything happens to that forest, they're in big trouble, and all you have is the seeds that are in your nursery. So we figured out how to build a seed bank in a shipping container and put solar panels on top, make it completely disconnected from any power grid. So it's a laboratory with dehumidifiers, freezers, refrigerators, with huge capacity. Millions of seeds can go in there. So our hope is to deploy these around the world or teach people how to build them themselves so that seed banking can become decentralized and every community that is doing restoration can be collecting seeds and storing them for future projects as well. We have a seed bank in Kona if you want to come visit that. I'll give you my contact info and you can come check that out. Kind of what it looks like inside. We're also putting nurseries kind of in kits and deploying those as well. We're getting into the part that's not exactly my area of expertise, but if you're really curious about this, you can email me and I'll get you in touch with the right folks. But essentially, we also want to solve some bottlenecks that includes software. So tracking your seed collecting, your nursery management, and eventually your outplanting. Make that quick, efficient, and easy with software. Another big bottleneck is financing, right? So getting the right folks in the room to figure out the easiest way to vet reforestation projects and deploy the money to those projects globally. Carbon credits is one of those things that we're exploring. Consulting with folks who are trying to enter into that market, it can be confusing, overwhelming, daunting, convoluted. So hoping to be consultants for that. Where do I fit in? So I got hired to be remember, I've had a lot of roles in my life. We have a lot of smart folks working for our company. And I felt like, what role can I play? Well, I got hired to be a community manager, community program manager. So after just less than 1 year now of working for Terraformation, I've came up with the ways that I think I would be fulfilled in my job, and Terraformation can be an asset for our community, which is K through 12 higher education. We're partnering with Project Hokulani to have interns starting in the spring. We've had different nonprofits come and visit our sites, and especially in high school, and do some work. My fulfillment would be partnering with the Hawaiian community and making sure that the decisions we're making going forward take into account all perspectives, which have been severely overlooked in the past. And then the visitor industry as well too. How can we help create less vitriol amongst folks who are visiting and our community, and hopefully change hearts and minds who come to the islands, and also affect positive change with the sheer amount of visitors who come. So if I could work on these, and if I could accomplish these goals, I think that would be fulfillment for me. That's my role at Terraformation in a nutshell. If you have questions, please unmute, chime in, or type it in the chat. If you want to visit, just email tours@terraformation.com, and I'd love to host you personally. If you have more specific questions that I can't answer right now, connect with me via email. I'll leave this up, and I can connect you with the right person at our team. Terraformation is a young company, new on the scene, and I feel like that leaves a lot of opportunity. So I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to have these conversations with you to make sure that we're moving forward in a Pono, ultra Pono way.
Awesome. Mahalo, Kealiʻi. Yeah, if any folks have any questions, you could go ahead and write them in the chat, or if you have a question, you want to use the reactions at the bottom of your Zoom to raise your hand and I can call on people. Maybe I
I
have
see
a
one in the
question.
chat.
Oh, do you? Okay, let's see. Okay, so Lauren
Yeah,
asked,
this is a great question.
where,
I realized I
yeah,
didn't answer that.
where are you conducting restoration on Hawaii Island currently? It's a great question.
Yeah, great question. Sorry, I didn't overlook that. So like I said, when my CEO came to the island, he bought 50 acres outside Kauai, and so that has turned into a restoration site. And we solved that. I showed you the pictures of the solar desal, and then basically his friends have some pieces of property. One is in the Mahiki Forest off Mud Lane. One is in Papaikou, and one is in Kona, Honokohau, Mauka. And so these sites are about 50 acres each, and it's beautiful, doing native forest restoration. But they're essentially those kind of test sites for hardware, software, and solutions that can also be deployed around the world. If you're curious about those restoration sites, want to know more specifics, or even come visit, just email me. I'd be happy to host. So Kona, Kauai, Thoene, and Papaikou.
Awesome. Mahalo, Kealiʻi. We have another question from Blair, which is, are you guys involved in carbon markets at all?
Yeah, thank you, Blair. This is not my huge area of expertise, so if you're curious, send me an email and I can make sure your specific questions are answered. But the short answer is yes, we're starting to explore how to help restoration projects around the globe navigate carbon markets. So we're just starting that with our team, just trying to make it easy and less daunting, less overwhelming. But I believe, in short, for our restoration sites here on the island, they're pretty small. 50 acres or so is pretty small in the grand scheme of things when it comes to like those companies that I showed you interested in carbon markets.
All right, and then Rick, I see that your hand is up in the Zoom.
Aloha, Kealiʻi. My name's Rick.
Hi.
Nice to
Hi,
meet
Rick. Yeah,
you.
glad you joined.
Yeah,
Nice
I've heard a lot about you.
You
One of my cohorts in the state is Jackson Bauer, and I think he had the opportunity to meet with you and talk trails. That's a lot of what we do, but we also work on preserving, protecting cultural landscapes for ongoing cultural practice, especially along the shoreline, but everywhere that the trails connect. And so wondering, in your comments on working with community and that central one, the Native Hawaiian community, what are some of the shortcomings that you're trying to overcome, that you've seen and that you're trying to address with folks? Yeah,
thank you. I'm really glad you asked, and I really hope to connect with you after. I'd love to show you our Kaupalawa site. So the question is, what are some of the shortcomings? I guess just for me personally is making sure that each step as we move forward is methodical, and is pono, right? So, for example, our Kaupalawa site has some archaeology. So we did a arc survey, a preservation plan, and then fenced it off and kind of left it alone. And so the shortcoming is like, number one, who do we connect with, how, and what is the best decision with those sites? Beautiful Malcolm Trail, C-shaped enclosures, petroglyphs, these things that should not be like privatized or behind gates and not available to everyone. So who do we talk to? What do we do that is ensured that the mana of those sites are treated well, and that it's not just a decision that I'm making, but it's a collective decision. So the shortcoming is just moving at the speed of trust and finding the right folks to have these conversations with. Does that answer your question?
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Mahalo for that question, Rick. Any other questions? Let's see.
Sam.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to
Yeah,
see
so so yeah, just also trying to understand, but I think I caught it when you were talking about the overall goals and scale on, was it 3 billion acres to restore? But then obviously, really, I guess the initiative on Big Island right now is just to kind of test, prove, learn, and then scale across the world, right? I guess I'm just curious where you guys are at in that goal, and even from like the testing and scaling phase, just how it's going, and yeah, what you guys are focused on kind of next.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Sam, for clarifying, because I think if you didn't understand that, a lot of other folks didn't either. And I kind of stumbled over that. But yes, Terraformation is lucky to be here on the island of Hawaii. And the solutions we're coming up with are going to hopefully be deployed worldwide. All the solutions are open source, available for everyone to take and use. And we want to just empower the globe and the folks who are working at scale, the biggest projects around the world, to, like I said, plant bigger, better, and faster. The hypothesis is 3 billion acres of native forest will help address carbon in the atmosphere in the next decade. So we have, Sam, I can connect with you and give you the more specific numbers, but we have partners. Most of our partners now are in East Africa. They bought a few of our seed banks. We have partners in India that are using some of our technology. And so, yeah, all this acreage that is available to restore is mostly in the global south. About 3 billion of those acres, about 80% of it would be in the global south. So the challenges to connecting with partners too is making sure that it's kind of the same as the challenges here, that we're partnering with communities who have who know best practices and how to work and do it best, and that we're not coming in with our ideas and our savior complex and saying you should do this. This works best here. So I don't know if that answers the questions. I can give you the full numbers of how many people we partner with, how many seed banks we've sold, how many people are using our software, et cetera, et cetera. But right now, mostly East Africa, India are our partners. Is that a good half answer?
I'll throw out a personal question. Kealiʻi, what's one of your favorite places to that you folks are working in?
Oh, yeah, my heart is in the Mahiki forest in Waimea. Sometimes when I'm losing my mind, I'll go and plant with the forestry team there. And everything just resets and clarifies. So that's been wonderful. And then my heart is also in the dry forest. So if I don't want to go into Mauka, I like to go to the coast, like Maumai. It's one of my favorite spots. We're not doing restoration work there, but that's just personally.
I love Mount Umai, so I feel that. Do you folks have any plans to have community events of any sort, or are you already doing anything like that, like bringing communities to do outplanting, for example?
Yeah, I hesitate with that because, yeah, if people are looking to connect and like plant trees and pull weeds and stuff, like happy to do that, and we've done it with them, especially with high school, right? So we can, but I don't know if the demand is high for that. I feel like because it is private property right now, I don't know. I just don't feel like, I feel like there's better uses for volunteer efforts and time that's more accessible to the public. So I don't feel comfortable asking people to come onto that property and put their equity and labor into our projects. But if they want to, we can, and we're happy to do that. But right now, what I've rolled out was first Thursdays, community tours. So if you want to come check out our Kohala property and see that technology and hike amongst some of the dry forest plants, you totally can. And that's free of charge. And if you can't make it on the first Thursdays, just send me an email, and I've been fielding that. But yeah, community work days, I don't feel comfortable right now because I don't think folks are asking for that. I think there's a lot of other partners around the island who are crushing it with community work days. And I think efforts are better spent there, if that makes sense.
That does, for sure. Yeah, I know that now there are a lot of things reopening now that things have kind of quelled with the pandemic, and a lot more volunteer things are going back to what they were. Lauren has a
Right.
question in the
Luckily.
chat, which is, what is the size of your team and how many employees are on Hawaii Island?
Yeah, thank you. Team is roughly just over 100, and on Hawaii Island, Hawaii in the state, there's around 40 or 50. Hawaii Island is probably like around 40. Maybe a little less, maybe a little less.
And there's a
Sam,
great
how can we
question
get
from
Terraformation to
Sam.
join SKCP? Yeah, I think we did. Avalon, did we officially? Do I have to sign something?
I'm not sure. I think you guys are part of SKCP at this point, but Lauren might be. There we go. Lauren's giving the thumbs up. So yes, you are part of SKCP.
Today, Sam. Today. Yeah, we hosted one of our subcommittee meetings at Kaupalaua. What was that, a couple of weeks ago? And then, yeah, super happy to be part of it and part of these conversations. And I think Terraformation moving forward, like we're in this 100-day push where kind of globally, the conversation is a little different from Hawaii. So we're kind of branching off, and the global mission is going to be global, and Hawaii is going to be a little more autonomous, which I'm excited about, which means we have a lot more opportunities to offer our support. And I think that's what's going to ensure that we're successful, that we have, like Lauren was asking, how many team members do I have? We have manpower, and we have tools and technology. And I think it'd be hubristic to say that we know the best way to restore, because we're new on the block. So I think if you're in restoration or are interested in partnering, I would love to hear what opportunities are available for our team to support the efforts that are happening now. So we have cool technology and smart people, and I don't think you have to work in silos. I don't think actually it's impossible to solve the problems that we have. So I would love to hear different ways in which we can support. And I'm leaning on a lot of you folks to come to me and come up with ideas, because and then I can channel that and help get that going.
Awesome. Does anybody have any other questions right now? Or comments? Okay. Well, thank you again so much, Kealiʻi, for explaining a little bit more about Terraformation. I'm really excited to hopefully come and do something with you folks on one of those first Thursdays, you said?
First Thursdays, 9 a.m. Yeah. Just email tours at Terraformation, or you can email me.
That sounds really great. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for attending today. And as mentioned earlier, for those of you who got here right after 12, we did record this, and this will be up on the South Kohala Coastal Partnership website in probably a couple of days. So if anybody wants to revisit or share with other people, please feel free to do so.
Bye, Sam.
Mahalo, everybody.